Bonjour mesdames et messieurs. So in this video I want to explain you the settings I use to take landscape, and they're very simple. First of all, I always start with f8. Why f8? Because f8 is usually where the lens perform the best. Per a lot of labs you will see that f8 gives the sharpest photo. Unless you have something that is very close to your lens and you want this to be sharp, like this little house that we have behind me, then I would probably go to f13 or f16, but most of the time f8, okay? You can go to the AV mode. AV mode means aperture value. So you choose the aperture and the computer that's inside the camera will choose the speed. Now, let's talk about ISO. I always want my ISO to be at 100 because basically anything above 100 is going to alter the quality of your photo. So 100 ISO, f8, AV mode. The problem with that, and let's take a shot to see. So I'm going to go here, AV mode, and ISO 100. What happens, this time it worked pretty well at f8. Sometimes I find that the photo is a little too bright and I really want to make sure I get all the details of the sky. I think when you do landscape, you really want to get great skies. So what I usually do when I'm in AV mode is I do what I call exposure compensation, and I do about 1/3 or 2/3 of a stop. What that means is that you're taking your photo at f8, 100 ISO, and the computer thinks the proper exposure is this, whatever it is. When you do an exposure compensation, you're basically telling, okay, whatever you think is the right exposure, let's take 1/3 of a stop, let's set 2/3 of a stop less. Basically, I want my photos to be a little dark. I find in the retouching, we get more amazing sky, especially you will see in later videos when we take sunsets. So that's my first settings, 100 ISO, f8, exposure compensation a little bit. Now, on the Sony, it's very easy to do exposure compensation because you got a wheel that you do that. On Canon, you have to find it in a menu and just, do 1/3 or 2/3 of a stop less. Exposure compensation is only when you use AV mode or speed mode. The other modes I want to show you is the manual mode. In the manual mode, there is no exposure compensation. You decide everything, the ISO, the f-stop, and the speed. You decide everything. So I'm going to do the same photo in manual mode. So I go to manual mode, I'm at f8, 100 ISO, and I can just turn around and choose the speed that I want until I've got a dense enough photo. Remember, I want it to be a little dark, not too dark, just a little dark. You want to make sure you get all the detail of the sky. And voila. So the manual shot was shot at f8 150, and the AV mode was also f8 150 with 2/3 of a stop compensation. So what I decided to do in manual mode was the same than I did in AV mode. But I prefer to shoot manual because I find that the screens on the cameras today are very accurate, and so I like to see. So I go 100 ISO, f8, and I just play around with the speed until I get a photo that's a bit dense, and then I'm happy. And voila, simple. That is how you set up your camera to take amazing landscapes.